We are losing daylight hours. We gotta get a moves on. Here are all the books that I read in January, and we're gonna talk about some of the books I want to read in February. I didn't read any physical books this month. I just read books on my Kindle, and I listened to a lot of audiobooks. I had many long drives, so I needed to really, not be alone with my thoughts. So, the first book I listened to was on audiobook, and I listened to Ender's Game. So, basically, it is about this kid, Ender, who is a third, and you're not supposed to know what a third is right away, but, I spoiled that for myself. I thought you were supposed to know what a third was, and so I googled what a third was because I thought I was supposed to know, but apparently that was a spoiler, so. Anyways, and he gets sent to this training camp sort of thing to help with this ongoing war and whatnot. He has siblings as well. I liked the brother, his sister, and the big. I'm not gonna say it obviously because it's the whole finale of the book. What was supposed to be the big, what's the word, plot twist, I kind of figured. I kind of guessed it. Maybe I'm a genius, maybe I'm just so locked in, but what was supposed to be the big plot twist, I clocked it immediately. Don't worry guys, it gets better because the second book I read it on my Kindle, and it was Game Changer, which is the first book in the Heated Rivalry universe. Now, I watched the show, so I knew all about Scott and Kip, but boy oh boy, reading about it was so magical because you didn't have to wait till another book to see their moment on the ice. The way this was written, it's written through third person, which usually isn't my favorite, but I really didn't care because the way the narrator is written, it's not a person, it's just like your bestie and you are at a coffee shop and you haven't talked in a few months and she's like, all right, here's what's going on. And I loved that. So it was great. I really enjoyed that nice little chit chat vibe we had going on. I ended up giving Game Changer 4 stars because I loved the plot. I really did. Just some of the spice scenes didn't really do it for me. That's just my opinion. That's my opinion. It was great in my book. I need to stop playing with this pop socket. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I'm so sorry. I'm just so fidgety. But I do love in Game Changer where Ilya gets a mention because Ilya is in Heated Rivalry and it's all connected. Everything's connected. I thought it was lovely because it was a coming out story and it was great. It warmed my heart. All right, so then after that, I listened to the audiobook of Bottom of the Pyramid by Nia. Oh my goodness, how do you say her last name? Is it Nia Sue? But Nia from Dance Moms, she had a book and she narrated her own audiobook, which was fantastic. I grew up watching the show Dance Moms, so I was very interested in this. But I am also an ex-dancer, so I really needed to listen to this audiobook. And how healing it was to hear her story. There was actually a moment where I was driving and listening to this audiobook, and I started crying like tears on the road. Don't recommend that. That's not safe because you can't see the road when you have tears in your eyes. So, anyways, she is a fantastic writer. I tend not to rate memoirs and all of that because why would I rate the entertainment value of someone's life? But I will say it was very well written. She does an amazing job narrating the audiobook. But I will also say the audiobook also opens up with Chloe from Dance Moms reading a little thing, which was also really nice to hear Chloe's voice. And it means that their friendship is like this. And that is so great to hear because I think Chloe probably was my favorite. But I loved Nia as a dancer. I think whenever she had a solo, I always thought she was the best actress, like in showing emotion in dances. And she obviously did not get that credit because she was always bottom of the pyramid. I'm really glad she got to share the story on her own terms because there was a Dance Moms reunion and she did mention this in the book, but she turned it down because she wanted to share the story on her own terms. I'm really proud of Nia. Next, the moment we've all been waiting for. I read Heated Rivalry on my Kindle. 5 stars. Like why would I give it anything else? It has the same kind of writing style of like Your Bestie, Spilling Tea. Love that. I did prefer the spice scenes, and I think there were also fewer of them than Game Changers. So when a spice scene actually occurred, I appreciated it more and it felt more intimate. But also, whereas Game Changer, that love happens more instant, this happens over like a decade. When they haven't seen each other for months. And I'm also super excited for book 3. I have not started it yet. Whoever we're following in the third one, I'm sure he's shown up before. Alright, and the last book I have read this month, it was actually a self-help book. I never, listen. I never have read a self-help book, point blank period. But for Dan Howell, I will. So this book is You Will Get Through This Night. I listened to it on audiobook. Definitely loved the audiobook version of this because they had music, they had sound effects, they had certain exercises that were audio based. Like they had an exercise that was 5 minutes and they played the music for 5 minutes, and then at the 1 minute mark Dan would say something encouraging, and then like 2 minutes, and then like so on and so forth, and then the last 30 seconds Dan would say something. And he even mentioned in the beginning of the audiobook that some of these were audio only experiences and exercises, so that was great. Also loved the sound effect. And like Dan stated in the book, this is not a memoir. It is just him giving mental health advice with a dash of humor. There was a point in this book I actually cackled out loud, like go to Horny Jail, and it was like this sound effect, like bonk, absolute cinema. The actual mental health advice, I've seen improvement. I think it's really good. It was stuff I've usually have heard of before. I did minor in psychology in college, so I thought this book would literally be everything I already knew, but that's not entirely the truth. I learned a handful of stuff with it, but hey, it ended up being beneficial. I also think it's really great that Dan Howell wrote this book because his personal journey, and because that he wanted to write something that would help others, and I love seeing people use their platform for good. I gave this book a 5 stars. I was debating rating this book or not, but it put mental health content in such an easy and digestible manner because the way it's broken up, it's more immediate quick fixes, like overnight like stuff, and then more long-term things, and then each of those were broken down even more. Very, very well done. And he did consult professionals. Also adding the humor, it just helps stick the things in my brain. That was actually the last book I read in January. I'm actually in the middle of a few other things. I'm in the middle of Cherry Baby by Rainbow Rowell. Okay, I got this arc forever ago, and I kept saying I was gonna read it, and I literally kept rereading the first page, and it seemed interesting. I just never kept going. So I'm actually a few chapters in now, so we are making strides. I also started the audiobook of Jeanette McCurdy's Half His Age, which she narrates, so that's why I'm listening to that. But there are some other books so kind of the most on my radar books while continuing the Heated Rivalry series. Hopefully finishing the series. I don't know. Hopefully I'm still in the mood for these cheesy little boy-on-boy hockey romances. I want to read Fake Skating by Lynn Painter. I love Lynn Painter YA romances. They just... Ugh. And it's very, very snowy. I'm from New Jersey. And I guess more skating, fitting in with the Heated Rivalry theme. Everything is connected. The Project Hail Mary audiobook. The movie is coming out in March, I believe, and everyone says the Project Hail Mary audiobook is like, that is the format you need to read this book in. And I actually put it on my Book Talk account where I could find the audiobook because everywhere it was in a different language, but someone oh so graciously sent it to me, and the kindness in the book community, because they didn't have to do that, but they did. What else do I also am attempting to finish my physical TBR, so definitely a book from there. I have this book. It's called So This Is Ever After. I read another book by the same author, In Deeper Waters, and so why is this book not staying shut? Why is it fanned open? Do you see how it's like curved? It's fine, but it's very like magical. I feel like I could see myself being in the mood for this after all of these cheesy romances that I just talked about, so I think that'll be super fun and exciting. Honestly, whatever my library decides to have available for me, because I could put something on hold and it'll be like, oh, it's a 25-week wait, and I'm like, cool, I will wait 25 weeks. And then all of a sudden in 3 days, they're like, the book you want is ready. I think February is going to be a great reading month because it's the month of love, Valentine's Day, and Groundhog Day. the two most important holidays. I'm also thinking this month of starting 75 Booked, which is a whole challenge I've seen on TikTok, and I really want to do it because, I don't know, it just sounds fun. Not to stress myself out. I don't want to do it to stress myself out, but I want to do it because it sounds fun. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all in February.